Hello and welcome. So now I would like to present to you my personal development speech. I think in the beginning of the studies I was probably the same as everyone else. I didn't really know what to expect, but I was very pleased that it turned out the way it did. And I think at the beginning I was maybe a bit anxious about what was coming, but um, before I came to the course, I'd been teaching for quite a few years already at different levels and different types of students. And I relied quite heavily on um, making use of school material, textbooks, and many of my lessons were very teacher centered. And I think at the very beginning of the studies, we had a conversation about um, a lot of teachers' ideas about teaching comes from their own experience of education, how they were taught, and I came from a very teacher-centered background in that respect. So that was kind of my approach, I think, when I look back. But I think at the time I didn't think it was. I thought that I was very kind of not laid back, but very relaxed in a classroom. I allowed students a lot of time to talk, but maybe the time that I allowed them wasn't structured enough, and the conversation conversations could have been directed more to what they were studying at the time. But so for me, um, I think the development was to learn how to structure um, and create clearer objectives, and definitely planning and time management. But these are things that I think that I have improved in already. But it's just in my nature not to do those things. But I do realize that I need to pay more attention to those areas, and I think from the PTT experience, it's quite clear. Um, and especially with younger learners who need quite a bit of guidance. So these are areas which I feel that the course has helped me quite a lot with, and things that I intend to try and improve on in the future. Um, I think that one of the most very useful things from the course, um, apart from the peer group, was the learning the dialogical skills, but also the learning theories and worldviews. I think just like invaluable knowledge to anyone, but particularly for me, and I've become quite aware of how my background influences me in the classroom, and I come from this very kind of quite hard working class background, this kind of no nonsense approach uh, to taking on a task and completing it, and I think this is something I need to calm down in my teaching role, and just allow for other people to make mistakes and just kind of find their own way to do things, and kind of really give them like the power to kind of learn at their own speed and create knowledge, etc., etc., and in their own way. So yeah, I mean the peer group was another very memorable thing for me from the course. I don't think it would have been possible for me to get through the course without my peer students. If you think about the workload from the course, the assignments, etc., etc., if it had been a solitary pursuit, it would have just been nearly impossible. So, I'm very grateful and thankful for my peer students. I'm not sure what it is I gave to them, but definitely help with English language and maybe a different view on things. I was the only non-Finn in the group, so it kind of mixed it up a little bit. So that was good fun, the peer group, and this was something that I used in my PTT also, arranging the students into groups, which I think went quite well. It wasn't something that they used to, but I think once they got into the idea, they kind of relaxed into it, and it was very useful for them. And I noticed through the dialogues that they were having that they were enjoying it, and I noticed also later in assessments that some of them were using some of the ideas that they discussed in their own work. So I think that went quite well. So in the future, as I said, I need to develop skills in planning, setting clear objectives, having a plan B, having a plan C, because again in the PTT things didn't go as I had planned, but there were many reasons for that. But I should have thought about having backup plans. But in the time that we had, and many other kind of factors came into it, I kind of had to change my ideas a bit. But it went well, and it was an invaluable experience. So I feel that I've kind of developed my skills in those ways, and I will continue to do so. So I think that my contribution to the contact days, I think that I contributed quite well, and the contact days kind of broke up the theory quite well, and it gave a chance to make contact with other students, and it was just a very enjoyable experience and a nice way to learn. I think maybe at the end some of the exercises were getting a bit repetitive, but for me personally it wasn't a big issue. I still enjoyed that way of learning, and it gave us all a chance to practice, get first-hand experience of being a student in those learning exercises, and we kind of now have first-hand knowledge of how to deliver that kind of learning. What do I think the course should have paid more attention to? Well, I'm not quite sure. I think that maybe the exercises on the contact days could have been more varied. Maybe I'm not sure. But and for me personally, I would have liked to have seen some kind of more examples of like good and bad teaching practices. But I'm sure that I will see those for myself in the future. So I would like to say to you all now, thank you very much for all of your help, your support, and your friendship. And I hope that very soon we will all see each other again. And thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.